When a woman was brought to the slave market in chains, no one could have guessed that in just a few years, she would change the fate of the world's most powerful empire. Her name was Hurrem, and this was not just a story of love, but of power, strategy, and survival. But the most shocking part hadn't even begun yet. The slave girl sold at that market would become the empire's first legally wedded sultana within 10 years and change history forever. In the early 16th century, on the eastern borders of Europe, in lands called Ruthenia, there was a small town. This was a place forgotten by history books, squeezed into the margins of maps. But for those who lived there, this was the world. Church bells rang every morning with the sunrise. Farmers worked in the fields. Women wove in front of their homes. Children ran barefoot, playing hide and seek in the church garden. One of these children was Alexandra. Her father was the village priest, a sage, a teacher, a spiritual guide to the people. Alexandra would go to church with her father every morning, listening to Latin prayers. Her mother was the queen of the kitchen, baking bread, singing songs, bringing life to the home. Alexandra's red hair shone in the sunlight. Most people in the village were dark blonde, but her hair was like fire, a sign from God. Her grandmother would say, "This girl is special." No one could know just how special she would be. Alexandra was a smart child. She learned to read early. Her father had taught her Latin, Greek, even some Polish. It wasn't common for girls to read in those days, but her father insisted, "Knowledge is power, my daughter. Never forget that." This lesson would save her life. Alexandra's 17th birthday was approaching. Her family was planning a small celebration. The village women would gather to make cake. The men would bring wine. But that day never came. The flames of night. The shepherds noticed the red sky first. "There's a fire," they shouted. But it wasn't a fire. It was an invasion. The Crimean Tatars, allied with the Ottoman Empire at the time, would raid Eastern Europe. Their goal? Slaves, gold, plunder. That night, Alexandra's village was one of their targets. The thunder of horse hooves came from afar. Then shouts, then screams. Flames engulfed the sky. The Tatars had set the houses on fire. Alexandra's mother woke her and her siblings. "Run! Escape to the forest." But it was too late. Doors were broken down. Armored cavalry poured in. Alexandra saw her father fall with a sword strike. She heard her mother's wails. She couldn't see where her siblings went. And then darkness. When she woke, her wrists were chained. Around her were dozens of women and children. All were crying. But Alexandra didn't cry, because she understood something in that moment. Tears wouldn't save her. Only intelligence could. The journey lasted weeks. Captives were carried in horse carts, in cages, in chains. Food was scarce. Water was dirty. Disease spread quickly. Alexandra saw someone die every day. The elderly couldn't endure. Babies died in their mother's arms. But she survived. Why? Because she had a strategy. She tried to learn the Tatars' language. A few words, simple phrases. Water, bread, please. These words set her apart from the others. The merchants treated her slightly better, because they had valued her. First lesson: add value to yourself. People protect what they value. When they arrived in Constantinople, Alexandra was amazed by the city's grandeur. Minarets pierced the sky. Massive walls surrounded the city. Harbors were filled with ships. This was the center of the world, the heart of the Ottoman Empire, and she was about to become a part of this heart. The slave market, the moment of destiny. The market began early Saturday morning. Hundreds of slaves were brought onto platforms. Merchants shouted. Buyers bargained. When Alexandra's turn came, the sun was at its zenith. Chains were removed. Her old dress replaced with clean fabric. Her hair was combed. That red hair blazed like fire in the sunlight. Whispers rose from the crowd. Is she Russian? No, Ruthenian. Red-haired concubines are rare. Will the palace buy her? Just then the crowd parted. 3 men approached. Ornate clothing. Serious faces. They were officials from Topkapi Palace. The palace representative examined Alexandra carefully. Her face, her posture, her eyes. Then he asked a question in Turkish. What is your name? Most captives froze at that moment, unable to answer. But Alexandra was different. During the journey, she had tried to learn Turkish. Just a few words, but it was enough. Alexandra, she said, then added, learn Turkish. I fast. The official's eyebrows rose. This small sentence was an act of courage, a sign of intelligence, and the palace was looking for intelligence. "We're taking this girl." A few gold coins changed hands. Alexandra's chains were removed, but she was just putting on her real chains. Fate was taking her to Topkapi Palace, and that palace was history's most ruthless battlefield. When they stood at the gates of Topkapi Palace, Alexandra held her breath. This wasn't just a building, it was a world. Behind the stone walls, tens of thousands of people lived, breathed, fought. The Sultan was here, the treasury was here, power was here, and danger was here. When she was taken to the Harem Humayun, her first impression was magnificence. Gold-embroidered ceilings, colorful tiles, marble columns. But Alexandra noticed something immediately. Every woman was looking at each other, but not friendly, hostile. This wasn't a harem, it was an arena. Her first week in the harem was difficult. Alexandra, not yet known as Hurrem, stayed with the other concubines. Like them, she cleaned, served senior ladies and concubines, but she observed every day, listened, learned. There was a hierarchy in the harem. At the top, the valid sultan, the sultan's mother, absolute ruler of the harem, then the Haseki, the sultan's favorite concubine, then the other favorites. At the bottom, the concubines, servants, hopefuls. Alexandra's goal was clear: climb up or die. Her first lesson came from Hafsa Hatun, an old, wise woman. She knew the harem inside and out. One day she whispered to Alexandra, "I'm watching you, girl. You're smart, but be careful. Here, intelligence brings two things, either a crown or a shroud." Alexandra asked, "Why?" "Because the powerful fear the intelligent. Have you seen Mahidevran Hatun, the Sultan's favorite, mother of Prince Mustafa, the most powerful woman in the harem, but arrogant? She doesn't take her rivals seriously." Alexandra listened carefully and began to form her strategy. If Mahidevran would be a rival, she shouldn't challenge her directly. First she had to gain power. First she had to catch the Sultan's attention. Education. Preparation for destiny. In the palace, every concubine received education. Turkish, music, dance, poetry, Arabic, Persian. Alexandra excelled in every lesson. Within 3 months, she was speaking Turkish fluently. Her teachers were amazed. No concubine had ever learned this quickly. Within 6 months, she was singing, playing the oud. Her voice was beautiful, melodic, emotional. Within a year, she was writing Arabic poetry. But most importantly, she was learning the palace's invisible language. Which concubine was close to whom? Which eunuch was influential in what matters? What were the valid sultan's favorite foods? On which days was the sultan troubled? Alexandra was taking notes, in her mind, because she knew that someday, this information would be useful, and that day was coming soon. The birth of Hurrem, her lively character, constant smile, and positive energy attracted attention. While other concubines were sad and hopeless, she was hopeful. One day the valid sultan asked her, "Why do you always smile, girl? You lost your family, you lost your freedom, yet you seem happy. Why?" Alexandra, at that moment receiving the name Hurrem, gave this answer, "Valid Sultan, I cannot change the past, but I can shape the future. Every day is a gift. The chance to be in this palace is a gift. The opportunity to know you is a gift. Why should I be sad?" The valid sultan was impressed. "From now on, your name shall be Hurrem, the cheerful one." And that day, Alexandra died. Hurrem was born. She was no longer just a concubine. She was a character, a personality, a strategist. Sultan Suleiman was 26 years old when he ascended the throne. Young, handsome, determined. His father Yavuz Sultan Suleiman's sudden death had caught him unprepared. But he was a born leader. He was winning victories on battlefields, ensuring justice in the palace. The title Kanuni wasn't given in vain. He was reshaping the empire with his laws. But his emotional life was complicated. There were hundreds of concubines in the palace. Mahidevran Hatun was his favorite, and he had a son, Prince Mustafa. Süleyman showed little interest in most concubines. For him, these were part of tradition, continuation of the lineage, political balances. But Hurrem would change everything. One evening, the valid sultan wanted to present a new concubine to her son. "There's a girl named Hurrem. Smart, cheerful. Maybe she'll entertain you." Süleyman wasn't very interested. He was tired, struggling with state affairs. But he didn't want to disappoint his mother. "All right, bring her." When Hürrem entered, the room fell silent. She had tied up her red hair. She wore a simple but elegant dress. But what really caught attention was her walk, confident. Süleyman looked at her, and something changed in that look. Hürrem didn't kneel immediately. First she looked into Süleyman's eyes. 1 second, 2 seconds. Then she slowly bowed. This small delay, this small courage, had caught Süleyman's attention. "What is your name?" he asked. "Hürrem, my sultan." "Hürrem, the cheerful one. Do you deserve your name?" Hürrem smiled, a genuine smile. "My sultan, life has caused me pain. My family was killed. My freedom was taken. But I still smile, because every day is a gift, and I am honored to be in this palace, to be in your presence." Süleyman was surprised. Concubines usually spoke in two ways, either with extreme humility or desperately. But Hürrem was different. But she wasn't begging, nor was she presumptuous. She was herself. They talked long into the night. Süleyman asked about her life. Hürrem told everything, without shedding tears, without suffering, just telling a story. And Süleyman listened to that story. When morning came, Süleyman sent a message to the Valid Sultan. "I want to see Hürrem again." When the news spread through the Hürrem, "But remember, you're now a target." Mahidevran Hatun underestimated Hürrem. A temporary whim, she thought. The Sultan will tire of her soon. But she was wrong. Süleyman was spending more time with Hürrem every day. It wasn't just physical attraction. It was an intellectual connection. Hürrem was intelligent. She could discuss politics with Süleyman, read poetry, play chess. Süleyman began to see her not just as a concubine, but as a companion. This meant danger for Mahidevran. One day Mahidevran cornered Hürrem. "Who are you to steal the Sultan's time?" she shouted. Hürrem remained calm. "I am only serving, Mahidevran Hatun." "Serving? You're scheming. But know this, I exist in this palace. My son Mustafa is the heir. You are nothing." Hürrem smiled, but this smile was cold. "You're right, Hatun. I am nothing right now, but the future is mine." Mahidevran tried to slap Hürrem, but Hürrem moved nimbly, dodged. At that moment, the war began, an invisible but deadly war, between two women, between two futures, between two worlds. In 1521, Hürrem gave birth to a son, Prince Mehmed. This changed everything. She was no longer just a concubine, she was a mother, and in Ottoman tradition, as a prince's mother, her status rose. Süleyman was very happy. He loved Mehmed dearly. His devotion to Hürrem increased even more. But Hürrem knew this wasn't enough. Mahidevran's son Mustafa was older, therefore had priority for the throne. If she wanted to protect Mehmed, she needed to gain more power. The path to becoming an advisor. When Süleyman went on campaigns, he began writing letters to Hürrem. Initially personal letters. "Without you, the palace is cold. I await my return." But over time, the letters delved into deeper subjects. Süleyman would ask her about state matters. "What do you think about the treaty I'll make with the Iranians?" Hürrem gave careful answers, intelligent, strategic, but not arrogant. And Süleyman began to trust her opinions. This was the first time in history that a sultan trusted a woman this much. In 1534, Süleyman made an incredible decision. He married Hürrem. This was an unprecedented event in Ottoman history, because Hürrem was a former slave. Sultans marrying concubines was against tradition. This act made Hürrem a legitimate sultana. Shockwaves spread through the palace. The Valide Sultan was furious. "My son, what audacity is this? You're destroying tradition." Mahidevran went mad. "She's a slave. She cannot be the sultan's wife." But Süleyman was determined. "I love Hürrem, and I am marrying her. This is my decision." The wedding ceremony was held magnificently. Hürrem became Haseki Hürrem Sultan. First, only, unique, at the peak of power. With marriage, Hürrem's power reached its zenith. Now she was the sultan's wife, mother of princes, mother of a sultana, an influential advisor in state affairs. But most importantly, she was now untouchable. No one could harm her, because she was under Süleyman's protection. Mahidevran lost her power in the harem. Hürrem was the new queen. Hürrem's greatest fear was clear: fratricide. In Ottoman tradition, when a new sultan ascended the throne, He had the right to execute all his brothers. This was to prevent civil wars. But for a mother, this was the greatest nightmare. If Mustafa ascended to the throne, Mehmed Selim, Bayezid, and Cihangir would be killed. Hurrem couldn't allow this. The Mustafa issue: Prince Mustafa was a brilliant prince. Intelligent, brave, beloved by the people. Süleyman loved him very much. But for Hurrem, he was the greatest threat. For years, Hurrem worked silently, wrote letters, left clues, planted doubts in Süleyman's mind. My Sultan, are there rebels around Mustafa? Do the army commanders love Mustafa too much? Slowly, Mustafa began to become a threat in Süleyman's mind. In 1553, the tragic moment came. Süleyman summoned Mustafa to his tent, and there, Mustafa was strangled to death by executioners. Did Hurrem have a hand in this? Historians still debate. But one thing is certain: Hurrem knew how to survive. In 1558, Hurrem fell ill, perhaps fever, perhaps another disease. Süleyman never left her bedside. "Get well, Hurrem. Without you, I will die too." But Hurrem knew her end was near. With her last breath, she held Süleyman's hand. "Take good care of our sons. Protect them." And she closed her eyes. Süleyman's mourning. Süleyman didn't speak for days, didn't eat, didn't sleep. He had lost his greatest love. He had Hurrem's tomb built next to his own, in the garden of Süleymaniye Mosque. Perhaps this was the only way they could stay together. Hurrem Sultan died in 1558, but her legacy lived on for centuries. From slave to Haseki Sultana, the woman who wrote her crown in chains, the master strategist who combined love and power. Some see her as a strong and intelligent woman, others call her a schemer and ruthless. But there's a point where both views agree. She was not ineffective. The story of Hurrem Sultan is a lesson on power, love, survival, and strategy. And perhaps most importantly, it is the story of a person who managed to change her destiny. Today, in the quiet rooms of Topkapi Palace, some still say they hear a whisper, "I am Hurrem, and this palace changed with me." If you were in Hurrem's place, what would you do? Would you remain silently as a slave, or would you embark on this journey to the heart of an empire? Whatever your answer, remember, history writes the names of those who have courage, and Hurrem Sultan's name has been echoing for centuries,